thanks for spending some time with us here today on the retirement income source. I'm Tim Sparks, and our show is always committed about how to, you want to learn about how to increase your income in retirement. All it takes is just a little tweak to be able to make that change. Most of us want to be as successful in retirement as we were when we were accumulating assets. But believe it or not, there is a transition that you need to make. I'm Tim Sparks, and our show again is sponsored by Sparks Financial Group right here in the heart of the Bluegrass, Lexington, Kentucky. This show is for you, the listener, whether you're a pre-retiree or a retiree. And if you are a pre-retiree, you want to get it right the first time. There is no do-overs. And if you're a retiree, is what you're doing okay? Is there something better? Are you leaving money on the table? In other words, do you want retirement to end well? You know, it's totally up to us to be diligent. You are completely on your own. Get informed, and most importantly, learn how money works. And what you thought was true and accumulate wealth may not be true when it comes to getting income in retirement. Because keep in mind, you were adding all those years. In other words, you were increasing your portfolio by adding and buying shares each and every paycheck. That you did well, and the past is gone. All we have is the present, and we have the future, which is the unknown. And when you invest for income, if you're a student of income, then you will have to you have to understand that you're looking for something that you can generate income, create those paychecks each and every month without touching your principal first. If you can increase the income, in other words, if you're more eye focused, doesn't mean you have to negate growth. It just basically means you need to get the eye up to equal the amount of income that you're already going to need when you go into retirement. If you want to solve the income problem, then you need to get the income up to be able to do that. In other words, there's instruments out there that people don't even think about. They're not even given advice about. But believe it or not, large corporations, net worth individuals, Warren Buffett, I can sit here and name names after names, become a student of income when they're investing in the market, because what they want to do is they want to do everything they can do to be able to maintain principal, but at the same time be able to get income from that principal. In other words, you want to make money, own money. And the only way you can do that is you have to invest for the I. Not just a little bit of I, but a lot of I. What I'm talking about is interest and dividends. So I would encourage you, because today's show is going to be about becoming a student of income and the value of investing for income in retirement. And I'm going to give you a lot of ideas today on what our clients are actually utilizing, what tools they're using, which I'm willing to bet are completely different from what you're using. I know that because I see portfolios each and every day, and we analyze portfolios each and every day. I've been doing this for 20 years. You know, you get pretty good at something if you get to know something long enough. I mean, just like it is when you go to work, whatever job that is, whether you're a doctor, a lawyer, or whether you're a secretary, whatever it may be, you become pretty good at it if you just can do it every day. It becomes second nature. But you also learn along the way as well. And what you learn a lot is more so, or at least I do, from our existing clients. And I learn not what to do just as much as what to do. And over the years, what I do know is the recipe to run out of money is to spend principal. There's nobody going to be able to tell me any other way to get through retirement by throwing caution to the wind, a slippery slope, so to speak, and spend principal and convince our clients that they're going to be able to grow that money back each and every year, because we all know that there's times in the stock market that the markets don't always get growth. They actually get loss. And the thing is, you need to get income. And so you need something positive. You need something in your corner that's paying you each and every month, regardless of what the markets are going to do. They're going to fluctuate. We realize that. The question is what is your plan B? You should always have a plan B. While you're hoping for plan A, you're hoping for growth, just don't sell your principal and you'll get your growth. Just get the I up, get the interest and dividends. So therefore, all you're living on is your income. I call it real income because it's interest and dividends that are paid to you. They're more reliable. Think about it for a moment. Do you want reliable income or do you want unreliable income? I'm willing to bet that every one of you are listening to the show today. We all want reliable income in when it comes to retirement. So if you want reliable income, then the first step is to find somebody that is a true retirement income specialist. Everybody calls themselves an income specialist when it comes to retirement. In other words, if you read the resumes, or if you go online, you're doing the research with financial advisors and they put the word retirement there, everybody can call themselves a retirement advisor and get you income. Believe it or not, you can actually do that on your own. You can put money in the bank, so to speak, just keep it safe and withdraw money every year and call it income. Question is, was you earning money on your money when you were taking it out, or are you just simply engineering income by just spending principal each and every paycheck, or to create those paychecks, I should say, each and every month? So in order to help you to understand what a retirement income specialist is, first of all, what is that? So there's a commission report I like to get in your hand called The 10 Signs You're Working with a True Retirement Income Specialist. And if you want to earn income on your assets, do it kind of like a farmer who has crops and are just living off the crops. They want to keep their land. Or if you're one of those that have stocks and bonds, you can do the same thing, not mutual funds. And mutual funds are kind of anti-income. And then first of all, you got to know who those type of people are. And you can have this commission report to be able to understand who that person is, a true retirement income specialist, by calling 888-930-1080. Again, that's 888-930-1080. We'll mail this to you or email it to you, whichever you prefer. Again, that number is 888-930-1080. You're tuned in to the Retirement Income Source. I'm Tim Sparks, and we're talking about being a student of income. If we want to become a student as an engineer, then we will go to school, become an engineer, then we go practice it as well. Or if we're a nurse, we're going to practice it by going to a hospital. Or if we a doctor or a lawyer, it doesn't really matter. The more we practice at something, the better we get. Well, when it comes to retirement, you want to really, really become a student of income if you want your money to last longer than you. You see, whether you're 5 years out or 8 or 10 years out, do you want to become more I-focus? I-focus means interest and dividends. In other words, find the tools out there, and I'm talking about mutual funds, exchange-traded funds, or individual stocks like our clients have, or individual bonds and bond-like instruments like our clients have. I will tell you this much, and based on my research and by being a student of income, it's individual stocks and individual bonds and bond-like instruments that will give you a pay raise in retirement. You deserve it. And so that's what I'm talking about, being I-focus versus being total return focus. You've been total return focused for the last, let's just say, 20, 25, or 30, or maybe even 40 years of building your wealth. And that's okay, and that worked very well for you because, to be quite honest with you, you didn't care how you got your return. Total return equals I plus G as long as you got the return. But when you get closer and closer to the retirement, and you're wanting to make sure that you don't miss the goal, then you want to focus more on I and secondary growth. In other words, you're not going to negate growth by getting out of growth potential instruments, but you want to focus on the I. Why is that? Because first of all, You want to be able to make sure you hit your go when you want to hit your go. Because think about it for a moment. Think about it. If you're going to retire in 5 years from now, and the goal is, that let's just say that's at 65 or 66 years old. Maybe there's various reasons. Maybe it's because of Social Security or whatever. You're waiting to a certain time to do that. And then whenever you get to that point, and then we have a financial crisis, or we have another similar incident like 9/11 or anything like that. Guess what you're going to do? You're going to miss your target. Why? Because you wasn't eye-focused going into it. In other words, you plan ahead of time. Be proactive, not wait till that time and then be reactive and then miss your goal. So if you would like to learn more about income first methods, in other words, how to get that transition taken care of now, be proactive. There's a necessary remedy, believe it or not, for the unknown future of the stock market, and that is to be eye-focused first. Well, I have a great retirement solution I'd like to be able to get in your hand that you really should not be ignoring. Again, you want to be a student of income. It's a book called Common Sense Income Strategies, and it's authored by CPA, Certified Public Accountant, Michael Easton. A great read to be able to get you more eye-focused being a student of income. And the more you learn about a topic, the better it is to be able to be informed. And the more informed you are, then you can be able to be prepared for the next phase of life, which is going to be retirement. And you want to be as successful. We all want to be successful. And this is a great read. And I got a free copy for the first 5 callers of today's retirement income source by calling 888-930-1080. Again, that's 888-930-1080. And we'll mail this book out to you if you're one of the first 5 callers. Free, no obligation book, 888-930-1080. When we come back, we're going to be talking about the advantages of investing for income, because first of all, you got to know the reason why. If you know the reason why, then now you have the purpose. And since most people, the purpose is to have income in retirement, then your philosophy should change to income. So we'll answer that here just in a few minutes. Thanks for listening to the Retirement Income Source with Tim Sparks. We'll be right back. Thanks for spending your time with me here on the Retirement Income Source. I'm Tim Sparks, and our show is sponsored by Sparks Financial Group, a firm right here in the heart of the Bluegrass, Lexington, Kentucky. You know, this show is always emphasizing the importance of income, investing for the eye, the bird in the hand. Today, we're talking about being a student of income. And I don't want to leave you hanging because we talked about the advantages of income. What are the advantages of income? Well, first of all, when you go into retirement, if you knew that you can get more income by investing in the market, and what I'm saying is I'm just comparing to what I see every day when I examine portfolios. What I see is people are leaving money on the table. And if you knew you were leaving money on the table by investing in the same stock market that our clients are doing right now, and the amount of money they're leaving on the table is pretty significant. I mean, if you think about it for a moment, we all are concerned about inflation. Why in the world would you want to leave money? That's the first reason why that I would want to invest for income, because income is a return, especially if it's to be expected and much more reliable in the next 12 months. I mean, if you have something that you were expecting to come in, doesn't it make sense to go ahead and invest for the bird in the hand? When you invest for the bird in the hand, it gives you some more flexibility in your planning, for example. If you're wanting to be proactive and want to get ahead of the curve, was it a golfer used to say, the more I practice, the luckier I get. There's another saying out there that chance always favors the prepared mind. I'm just one of those type guys who want to get ahead of the curve and try to be as proactive as possible. So that way when things do happen, I'm prepared. Military has to go through basic training and learn how to use weapons and so forth, and you want them to do that. Why is that? Just in case there's ever a war. We always want to be prepared. Well, equally so, when it comes to going into retirement, we should be even more so prepared. Why? Because we're trying to avoid some major concerns. The number one concern still by the Sorelli Associates, who does research based on surveys and stuff in America today, and when it comes to dealing with people that are going in retirement, and this is baby boomers and Gen Xers, since 2014 and now, the number one reason that people are fearful going into retirement is afraid they're going to outlive their money. And because think about it for a moment, they don't even know if they saved enough. They don't even know if they have enough to be able to pay the higher medical bills, which, by the way, is going to the roof, or if there's another stock market crash. In other words, all these fears are very reasonable. The thing is, though, there's ways to be able to minimize fears. You can't eliminate fear, but you can definitely increase your batting average, so to speak. In other words, Pete Rose was one of the best hitters in baseball of all time, but what he did is he practiced harder than any of the other players on the team. The more he practiced, the better he got. Well, in other words, he was being proactive, so that way, and not only that, as we know, he probably made more money than a lot of the players on the team. And here's what I'm going to tell you, first and foremost. You got to start from the beginning. It's like building a house. You start with the foundation, then the walls, and then the roof. And you want the strongest house it can be, right? Well, that's what I'm using an analogy of the house as what I'm talking about when it comes to building your portfolio. Well, we all know we're going to get Social Security in retirement. That's a given. The question is when should you select Social Security so that way you can maximize it and also put less strain on your other assets that you also saved for retirement as well. Well, you see, investing for income minimizes the strain, and when it comes to investing in the market, because it's a given, you're going to be paid it anyway if you invest correctly. But you have to make changes. You can't stay with the current portfolio with mutual funds or exchange traded funds and be able to do that. Because if you have lesser income when you can get more income, then basically you're just leaving money on the table. We're concerned about inflation, but we're really not doing a lot to be able to help us and to combat inflation. So selling principal, creating income by selling principal, I should say, is not a great way to beat inflation, because every time you give up any of your assets selling shares, you're giving those amount of assets that you sold are not going to be able to go up in value because you had to sell them to generate income, because income becomes the primary reason for you going in retirement. You got to have income. So if that's the primary reason, then why are you selling shares? So first of all, you want to increase the I in that way. Not only that, what we have seen, just like recently, I was working with a lady that needed to get the most income possible in retirement. She only had a certain amount of assets, and let's just say it was like a little over $700,000. But she is planning on taking, so that was her plan. She was going to take Social Security. And I alluded to this, but I didn't elaborate too much in the latter show. A show I think I covered a couple of weeks ago. But she wants to. She's concerned about outliving her money because she's afraid she's going to live a long life. Welcome back to the Retirement Income Source with Tim Sparks, your host, sponsored by Sparks Financial Group, right here in the heart of the Bluegrass, Lexington, Kentucky. This show always emphasizes the importance of investing for income the old-fashioned way. I did say that. I don't know what the disconnect is with financial advice today when it comes to invest for income, other than I can just look back and wonder why it is that financial advice is still more total return focused. And the biggest reason why is that I think is, and when I talk about investing for income the old-fashioned way, that used to be utilized, the strategy of investing for income, like what I'm talking about here on the radio. And somehow, when we got past the 80s, got into the 90s, the markets were going up like gangbusters. And so the focus and a lot of the training and stuff today is more focused on total return. In other words, let's use a Monte Carlo scenario, simulation, so to speak. It's more of just a mathematical algorithm. It looks back in time on different market outcomes, and once the financial advisor that's utilizing this tool, which I also have access to as well, once they get it up to about a 90% success rate, based on whatever the client is trying to achieve, and you can get it 100% on that more than likely, but you're going to have, first of all, you're going to have wind at your back to do that. In other words, you're going to have potential growth, and also you're going to have to reduce your spending in order to be able to make it work. And so those two things don't sit well with me. And so when you look at the formula, there's a 10% chance in general, if you stick with the 4% rule, that you will run out of money before you run out of life. And based on that, it's like 25 years. And, I don't want to get 25 years down the road and then all of a sudden I'm broke in the perfect world. So I don't want to have that discussion. So the reason why I like investing for income, because if I'm getting 3 times more income by investing the same way that person is that's choosing to go with the total return method and basing everything on Monte Carlo simulations, then I got a higher probability I'm going to be able to add 10 more years, if not longer, to that client's portfolio. It's all about getting the most mileage out of your money. And so just a great example, I met with a client that's been with us for about 2.5 years. She hasn't turned on the income, so to speak, but yet she's exhausted a lot of her emergency funds. She had like 50 or 60,000 in the bank. And keep in mind, people, I'm a big fan of having a certain amount of cash in the bank, even if it doesn't really make a lot of return, because that's not the purpose of it. The purpose of it is to have liquidity when you need it. When the refrigerator breaks, or when the stove breaks, or when the washer and dryer breaks, you can pay cash. That way you don't have to worry about paying interest on that money. Now, sometimes, if you get a loan for no cost, then I'm okay with that. But and then sometimes it makes sense to get the loan. It really, nobody really knows. And of course, most people we work with don't like to borrow money. And most of them already have their homes paid for, but sometimes people come in, they don't even have their homes paid for. So with that being said, she went through her assets and went through her all of her cash reserves. And so when I was talking to her yesterday, when doing our review, I said, and she was telling me she doesn't really need her money yet, or until at least maybe 4 or 5 more years. I said, do you realize that when we're investing your money for income, you got the freedom to spend that regardless? Because income is reliable. It's going to be paid to you in the next 12 months. 12 months later, it's going to start all over again. It's like a spring. It's not going to stop. Okay, you got it unless you stop it up or change your investing methods. And so I said, but that's not what you hired us. And I said, and you're not getting any younger. I said, so if you took this money out, $12,000 a year or $1,000 a month, even if you're not spending it, and this is just on the amount of money that we're managing so far, she's still got another $500,000 that's in a annuity that's not really generating any returns whatsoever, and she's wanting to get out of that particular annuity because of that problem, but she's stuck with these penalties and stuff, so she can't do it. So anyway, going back to this, we're getting the income up, and I told her, I said, do you realize in 5 years you're going to have $60,000 back into your emergency reserve account? I said, so just think about that for a moment. I said, and by the way, you're not going to touch your principal. What I'm doing is I'm taking out $12,000 a year. If you multiply it by 5 years, that's $60,000. I wanted her to get the comfort level of her emergency account back up and so forth. And so, yes, she can reinvest it, but what was important to her is to get her cash reserves up. So it just kind of made her feel like that she didn't have anything to go to. And there is going to be things that are going to pop up, people. And so it's what I told her, to get that filled back up. And we'll do it with the interest of dividends. Again, that's advantages of dividends. Well, I got an email last night. She says, go ahead and turn it on. So I guess it resonated with her. Again, people, for any other reason, when you're increasing your paycheck by investing for income, or at least our clients are doing this, they keep laughing all the way to the bank and filling up their bank accounts, whether they need the money or not. That's a great problem to have. I mean, imagine she did that for 20 years, how big that bank account would be, while, by the way, she still has her money invested, continuing to give her that recurring revenue. That's a huge advantage. But she learned that by doing a retirement risk report, which answers one question. Will you outlive your money? Will you be spending your principal? Well, she kept the portfolio the way it was before in mutual funds. If she wanted to take out $12,000 a year, she was going to have to take out $9,000 of it in principal and $3,000 of it in interest and dividends. So in other words, she wouldn't have felt comfortable doing that. So in other words, her portfolio and her lifestyle was just changing for the worse, not changing for the better. So the income allowed her to be able to get a higher income, to be able to take that income and be able to fill up her emergency funds. And we actually see that quite a bit. And I actually encourage people to do that, especially if they're still waiting to retire. And in her case, she doesn't want to take any money from her principal until she gets a little bit older. So I'd like to get this retirement risk report in your hand, but by doing so, you would have to contact our office, 888-930-1080. Again, that's 888-930-1080, and schedule that 30-minute phone appointment with myself where we can actually start the process of finding out, are you leaving money on the table? Are you doing it contractually? I mean, think about it for a moment. Most people invested in mutual funds and exchange traded funds, there's nothing contractual about those instruments. So you're not even getting a contractual return. And by the way, people, I'm not talking about annuities. Bond and bond-like instruments are also contractual. So first of all, that's what this report does. And if you call our office again at 888-930-1080, it allows you to be able to have the starting you'll be able to start to find out where you're currently at and can you get a higher income. Why leave money on the table? So you're listening to the Retirement Income Source. I'm Tim Sparks, and today we're talking about being a student of income, which leads me to a caller that came in our office about 2 weeks ago. They have $3 million, and they got quite a bit of money. That's a lot of money. I'm sure a lot of people would like to have $3 million saved. This person was very successful in their business venture that they had, and they just want to know whether the portfolio they got is generating the income to sustain their lifestyle. And so I asked this couple, I said, how much income do you need from this portfolio, this $3 million? Now, people, this is not the norm. Most people call in, they have a $500,000. Some of them have $800,000 or $300,000, or they may have $3 million, $5 million, or $10 million. It doesn't really matter. What the goal is how much income are you getting on your money? You don't want dormant assets sitting out there not making any money on money. And you do that by increasing the I. You're not going to get it by just doing status quo, because more than likely you're getting the same news as this gentleman did. And we did a retirement risk report to be able to determine this. And so here's what we found out. This couple needs $120,000 a year. So their $3 million currently right now, since it's invested primarily in stock-based mutual funds, is generating $40,000 a year in interest dividends. So that's what the first thing that this person wants to know, how much income they're getting. And then the next question is do they want to continue to take out $80,000 from growth every year because they're not getting it from income? Remember, total return equals I plus G. In other words, both components exist even in the mutual funds that this client actually had in their money now. And so, if you think about it, $40,000 coming from the I, that means they need $80,000. So now they got to look at their portfolio and determine what funds to sell and what funds to keep. And they got to do this each and every month. I don't know about you, but that would make me nervous. And not only that, why in the world would I want to do that whenever they can actually get on the same money? They get what I'm fixing to say. They need $120,000. They're spending $80,000 in principal, and they're only getting $40,000 a year in dividends. And by the way, the dividends will get lesser each and every year because they're selling shares. Because every time you have a share of ownership, you get a certain amount of income that follows that. So with that being said, they need $120,000 and they're spending $80,000. So our clients on $3 million are getting $150,000 a year. So that basically means if this couple wants to make a change to more I focus, since they need income in portfolio, it makes perfect sense. So now they get $30,000 more than what they need, and they need $120,000. So I asked them a question. I said, are you doing the things you want to do now? And they said no. They said there's still some stuff they like to do. They like to be able to help their grandchildren in school and so forth. I said, do you realize that we can get your income up another $30,000 a year? Would that be something you would like to do? And so, in other words, that extra income allow them to be able to achieve some other goals, like helping their children and grandchildren. So what did they learn from this retirement risk report? Well, first of all, they don't have to worry about selling $80,000 a year in principal. And second of all, they got an additional $30,000 surplus. It's kind of like winning the lottery, much on a lower level. Now they get the chance of being able to spend the extra $30,000. I don't know about you, but that's way ahead of inflation. Matter of fact, if I was to do the inflation numbers, that's probably got about an 8 or 10 year head start of inflation just by investing for income. So I just wanted to share that with you because that just recently came across that. And so that way you can understand the advantages of investing for income and what people are, they're leaving money on the table. So if you want to be more I-focused and understand what that means, then I got an excellent book that'll help you to be able to be on the first steps of being a student of income, and that is Common Sense Income Strategies, authored by CPA Michael Easton. I got a free copy for the first 5 callers of today's Retirement Income Show by calling 888-930-1080. Again, that's 888-930-1080. And we will mail it to you. Again, if you're one of the first 5 callers, free, no obligation book, I-Focus book. In other words, focus on the income first. Our number is 888-930-1080. You're tuned in to the Retirement Income Source with Tim Sparks. We'll be right back. Welcome to the Retirement Income Source with Tim Sparks, your host, and this show is sponsored by Sparks Financial Group right here in the heart of the Bluegrass, Lexington, Kentucky. Today, we're trying to teach you why it's so important to be a student of income. You know, we're in the information society. People will Google it or go online, maybe even go to AI and so forth, and try to get answers. And all those are is really just nothing but general answers. It's not really in the trenches type answers. I get it. None of us want to be sold. That's the number one concern today. Nobody wants to be sold to, but yet you're going to put your money somewhere. So the information gathering you're doing, somewhat is convincing you through the information you're reading that it's okay to utilize this strategy or that strategy and so forth. My goal is just to totally educate you and let you decide what is most important to you. We talk a lot about the retirement risk report. It's been several shows that I put emphasis on this, but every time I offer it on the show, people call in, want to know more about how to be prepared for retirement. And that's what this does. It's not about hiring our services. It's about all you're really doing is kind of like buying a car. You go test a car out. If you don't like it, you should have the freedom, get back in your car and go find another car auto placed and see if they have a car, and that's the way it should be. It should be on your time frame and when you are ready to do something, and that's the way it should be, even when it comes to getting financial advice. But the retirement income report encompasses a lot of things. In other words, it's a single one-pager that gives you all you need to know about, are you ready for retirement? Like your retirement priorities. What are your goals? Goals are, I know people are flippant about that, but I like to be more specific about that because most people kind of have an idea what income they need, but they leave out another type of income also, and that's the income to fulfill all that time that was being occupied while you were working. Now you got an extra 5 days a week that you're going to be able to spend money as well. So more than likely, there's probably things that you want to do that you couldn't do when you were still working. So you want to make sure that your retirement income, your goals, are hitting and meeting all of these expectations and not just some of them. Because if you don't even know what those are, if you don't go through the exercise of understanding what you can do, and we actually take people through this exercise, then you can actually go into retirement and you may not even be prepared for the things that you're going to do with your money. And some people get a lot of benefit from looking at the fees that are being charged and to have their money already currently managed. That also comes out in this report. We do a stress test, in other words, to determine how much losses those current investments you already invested in, and are you okay with taking that kind of loss if it was to occur again, or are you prepared? So, it's always about being prepared and being proactive. And so, and also about taxes. Taxes are extremely important. There's 3 different types of vehicles: taxable, tax deferred, and tax free. And of course, we all want tax free, but are we prepared? Our investment, or can we have tax-free investing and still be able to retire? So it's a big decision. It's not something you make in a vacuum. So I got a commission report in relation to, this is the first step. If you feel more comfortable doing this versus a phone call to the office to get more specific information, then call 888-930-1080. Again, that's 888-930-1080, and we'll get this commission report to you. It's called the Retirement Risk Report. Will you outlive your money? In other words, it's going to take you probably 10 or 15 minutes to go through it, and you'll be able to know exactly what it is that we do and what this report does for the people that come in and take advantage of it. Again, 888-930-1080. You will mail this or email it, whichever you prefer. You're tuned in to the Retirement Income Source. This is Tim Sparks, and today we're talking about being a student of income, investing for income. Believe it or not, you need it when you go into retirement. The question is, are you getting income? Are you focused? Are you leaving money on the table? And for those of you that are over 59 and a half and you're still working, did you know more than likely you can do what they call an in-service rollover and start preparing to be focused now instead of waiting maybe 4 years from now to retire, or maybe 6 or 7 or 8 years? The question is, are you getting the income, or can you get more income with an in-service rollover? And is there some advantages that you can take advantage of when it comes to investing for income? Like, some people want to pay off their house in 4 or 5 years. If you can do an in-service rollover and you're getting income that you're not getting right now from your current 401k, then you can use that money to be able to help you pay off that house. After all, we all want to get out of debt. So again, in-service rollover means you can still contribute to your 401k plans, 403bs, whatever they may be, but while simultaneously create more income, getting ready for the next phase in life called retirement. Speaking of retirement risk report, we recently ran across a client who's actually been with us now for a year or so, and they're very legacy minded. They want to do tax reduction strategies where it makes sense, and also they need their portfolio to generate a certain amount of income. Now, these people have a little over $5 million, so they have quite a bit of money. So they need about $180,000 from their portfolio in 5 years. And they need, because they got Social Security. In other words, they're going to take Social Security in addition to that. So that puts them up over $230,000 a year going between both of them in retirement, which is more than enough income to do what they want to do it. But they want to do it from a tax advantage strategies. And so they're preparing now to do that. So the retirement risk report allows them to be able to see what they can do, what changes they can make now to be able to do that. By the way, people, they're wanting to provide a legacy to their two sons. In order to do that, you have to be strategic in some way. And not only that, if they can leave money behind tax-free and a tax advantage, I'm talking about estate tax-free and income tax-free both, then there's ways to do that. And so that's what the retirement risk report does. This is really for more of a net worth individual that this report encompasses and be able to answer some of those questions. Because $180,000 a year, they really only need about half of their money to be able to generate that, maybe slightly more, and the rest of the money can be left as a legacy. The problem is some of their instruments are probably about just less than half of their money is in IRAs, and IRAs are taxable, so they're wanting more tax advantage ways of leaving money to their children. In order to do so, they have to make some changes and still not upset the apple cart, so to speak. There are so many ways to do that. So we're coming up at the end of the show, and we thank you for listening today. And we hope you learned a lot about retirement solutions, especially about being prudent with our money, most importantly, and plus be a student of income and the advantages of income. Matter of fact, I can probably go for 3 or 4 hours talking about different people with various scenarios, and probably similar to what some of you are hoping to achieve even in your own retirement plan. One thing I will tell you is everybody's plan is a little bit slightly different. So just taking things and understanding things in a vacuum does not mean, or generally speaking, does not mean that that's exactly how specifically it's going to work out for you. But again, we look forward to joining you again next week for some more information about stress-free retirement. I'm Tim Sparks, and you've been tuned in to the Retirement Income Source. Thanks for listening.